What's up guys, this is ScherBR talking, welcome back to my channel. On today's video, let's talk about news for a month in SaGa Universe, and they just announced it, Ultra Deluxe Kihaki banner. Well, this character here is a beast. She deals insane amounts of damage by attacking 3 times with 8 hits on turn 1, even via Overdrive. There is also Mafia, another UDX style, and a Platinum one called SaGa from the story arc. So, this banner offers less value as it only has 2 limited styles, and in my opinion, only Kihaki really matters. Well, we already have the information and we are jumping here to Reddit in a post by Hands43. Thank you so much as always. Kihaki has 128 STR, that's a very good value, 100% agility as well to go fast. She has 85% wheel, that's more than enough for damage dealers, but not really stellar. And a little less endurance. All the other status won't matter as much. As we start the fight, she increases damage potential by 40% and starts the fight with 15 BP. That's super important into using her skill number 3. By the end of a turn, she also gets 25 points of Overdrive dodge. Also, when attacking on Overdrive, she will grant this weakness. It's a type of property that is attached to the enemy. This weakness effect will last for 2 turns, and then when you are attacking this enemy, you have a 37% chance to apply this defense down that decreases the defense by 25% or so. That's what I understand. If I'm wrong, please say here in the comments. So, although it's good, it's not a guarantee. 37% chance to decrease 25%. So, many hits means that you will get something here and there, and since this lasts for 2 turns, well, in the second turn you can trigger this again, and it can be pretty nice. But the effect itself, it only lasts for 1 turn. Okay. Also, when weak attack lands, she recovers 2 BP. That's awesome because she wants to be used versus enemies that are weak to her elements. And also, when you are on Overdrive and you land a weak attack, you will activate her skill number 3 twice. Again, saying that she needs to use attacks versus weak enemies. Then she has 20% damage increase. When doing weak attacks, she has another 20% and reduces damage taken by 30% at all times. That's a pretty good passive, to be honest. So we have here 80% damage increase via the first passive, and the third one, ways to decrease the defense of the enemy, starts the fight with 15 BP, has Overdrive Gouge fielded on start, 55 OD Gouge by the end, and has 30% damage reduction at all times. And that whole gimmick of attacking on Overdrive and landing weak attacks activates S3 twice. Skill number 1 is nice. 2 BP, E power, and slash and lightning. She attacks twice, but not randomly. You can choose a target, and this will feel more like an S power attack with the cost of just 2. The second one is a 4 BP A power attack that has slash and lightning. Can only be used once per battle, and it will grant weakness that will be permanent in battle to the target. So, weakness is the same effect that you see here when you attack on Overdrive. The Overdrive version has duration, but this one here will be permanent, so you can actually stack. So, 2 chances now of 37% to apply that 25% defense down. See? That becomes much better, right? But just for when there is one enemy in the fight. You can actually start the fight using this if you want, and then start nuking on the second turn. But it depends, sometimes you may just want to use the nuke on turn 1, because that's a 15 BP attack with E power. It's slash and cold, so she covers 2 elements, and she attacks 8 times. Not randomly, she will just choose a target and attack 8 times. And if the enemy is weak to slash or cold, she will then attack 2 times again with the same skill. It's stellar, like, it's stupid even. 8 hits, it's, let's say, left fork on full potential after buffing many times. Now use left fork 2 times again with 1 turn. That's right, this damage is insane. It will break the boundaries of the game for now. The strongest damage dealer on turn 1. But then you have to understand that she was attacking on Overdrive. She does not build OD Gouge this way, and she gets 25 points by the end of a turn. On the next turn, she will attack, and then she cannot have enough Overdrive Gouge to get it again by the end of turn. Her skill number 1 only charges 13 points, and the skill number 2 charges 16 points. So she would need another turn in order to reach full OD, or unless the enemies attack like multiple times. Remember that you get 8 OD points when you get hit. So, as usual, she will actually be running skill number 3 on turn 1. Then you can use skill number 2, for example, on turn 2. Maybe skill number 1 on turn 3, and then on turn 4 you go back to using skill number 3. That's usually how it works with this character. And if you feel like you need extra BP because you're not running someone like Shirei, maybe use normal attack here and then. But she can use it with Labelle. Labelle will give Overdrive Gouge right after. And if you also have Shirei in the party, damage will scale so well that she will feel like 3 damage dealers in your party. That's how it works. A really powerful unit that can be used for farming or boss fights. And gets even better if you have other characters with OD mechanics, especially Labelle and Shirei. Shirei gives enough VP to keep using the best attack. She can also be used for boss rush and some challenges that were harder because of number of turns, like stage 180 versus Time Lord and Kylene will become much easier. So, pretty powerful unit that receives an OP grade, is the best of the banner nonetheless, and we'll be discussing her more often since she gets released. Now, we have Meythia, and she is unhybrid, and I don't really like when this thing happens. See that she wanted to have a little bit of everything, 123 STR, but nothing here is really good. She has 81 endurance and will, okay. She has 84 agility, nothing here is stellar. And she needed love because she's a healer, that's why. She's not on the intelligence part, but it's on the love part. By the start of a turn, she grants herself this heat up of large effect that gives 15% damage potential for the whole fight, triggers 5 times to reach 75 by turn 5. And recovery actions will grant a heat up that increases damage potential by 10% for the whole fight. This is very similar to Ogniana in a way. When being attacked, damage is reduced by 25%, and by the end of a turn gets 2 BP. Then we have X-Finis that decreases damage taken at all times by 30%, so that means that she has 2 damage reduction passives and increases her damage potential by 30. That means that she actually reaches 105% damage potential. Not bad, but takes time to reach turn 5. Skill number 1 is a 2 BPC power X attack with just slash damage that will recover one random ally HP by around 1,500 when she's maxed. That's right, it's random. She can heal herself even, or someone that needs, but, well, for remembrance, if she does not heal who you want, just restart. The second skill is a support that costs 7 VP and can recover, revive all targets, can be used 2 times per battle. It will recover around 2000, will grant also an attack boost that increases damage potential by 30% for 3 turns. So, defensive can revive, protect by having high HP, and even increases damage. And since it does not use LP, she won't be on critical. Then the third one is a 10 BP attack that is single target, slash and shadow, attacks 3 times randomly and will buff her own STR on each attack. This attack she stole from the first version of Darius. It's still a good attack because it buffs STR, and if she is using this later, she will have her hit ups, damage won't be that bad. So she is a character that can be used in the party to replace Darius somehow, replace Ogniana. I don't think she replaces Alnus. That is still a very good one to give AoE heal by the end of turn. But sometimes we need 2 healers. One is Alnus, the second one is another one. And it can be either Ogniana or Mafia. Mafia is a little better because of her 2 defensive passives and this heal. She can heal everyone. That's awesome. You won't be using this unit in real challenges unless it's a serious challenge and you have nothing else, but for remembrance she really helps, especially if you don't have any other healer. She can sometimes be your only one, and especially if you are running Strumiken and he can solo after surviving for some turns and taking some hits after self-buffing a lot. But she won't die easily as well, so pretty useful unit, but nothing stellar. I think she deserves just an SS plus grade. Then we move to Sei Mei, and He's a Platinum style. That means that after the banner ends, you can get him for free via Platinum tickets. It's a mage with 122 intelligence and 103% will. Those are good values. And endurance is 77%, like always happens with mages having low physical. And agility could have been a little better, it's just 92%. Well, when being attacked, it reduces damage taken by 30% at all times. And then on turn begins, buffs on will by 20% and ailment resistance by a very large effect. That is pretty cool, so that he always have a way to try to decrease ailment, either via will. If the enemy breaks or will buffs, it's okay, you still have ailment resistance because this one cannot be dispelled. By the end of a turn, gets 2 BP and will also recover HP. That means that you have some very small healing. Then damage increases by 30% and when landing an attack has a 37% chance to debuff the enemy's intelligence by 15%. So it likes to be used on boss fights that uses magical attacks with ailment chances and can even try to debuff. Skill number 1 decreases the enemy STR and endurance when the attack lands. As you can see, there's no indication of a chance, so it always works. You can debuff STR with a single target attack that has only 3 BP cost. Pretty nice. Endurance debuff barely matters anyway. Now, the second one is an AoE spell with 5 BP cost that grants morale down medium. So that decreases damage taken by 25%, lasts for 2 turns. That's much like what you saw in the past with Beauty. And with a character that has utility, decreasing damage taken at all times is good enough. The third one is a 9 BP Shadow spell, that is AoE, and decreases the enemy's status. Yeah, all of them. And now the skill number 3 from SaGa is pretty crazy. Yeah, you use 9 BP to cast a AoE Shadow attack that will debuff, yeah, with a guarantee, all status from enemies by 35% up to 40% on max level. There's no indication of anyone in the game that can debuff as much. We had a 40% endurance debuff in the past, but he debuffs everything by 40%. But he also gives a way for the enemy to cleanse it all. That's Epidemic Expulsion. For one time, no turn limits, you grant that on. Thing that if they attack, they can remove all debuffs applied to themselves. Yeah, it's like a curse, but there's also a miracle together. And then, if you keep using this skill, the enemy will have multiple stacks of this Epidemic Expulsion. If it doesn't trigger on start, it will trigger eventually. So all debuffs value will be disappeared. It does have some implications, because, well, if you use this on an enemy attack multiple times, maybe the debuff will stay for the first attacks and then it will be cleansed later. But it's a way to gimmick an RNG based that is hard to rely. But the guy already has this morale down medium and has this STR debuff. He's a platinum unit and, well, it's harmless. If you want to play with the guy, play with him, but don't expect greatness from a character that relies too much on RNG. Via inheritance, he can debuff the enemy's will and cleanse and heal the party. Well, those are interesting things, but unless you really need to debuff STR and don't have anyone else, or you want to play with this all status debuff, well, SaGa is just a character that can use it for fun. And yet another problem is that because the debuff value is way too high, this can trigger the fight weakness right after, and the enemy does not need to trigger this expulsion. It will just be removed right after. But if the enemy only attacks once or twice, this decreases the chance of self-cleansing. And you have good RNG, this could theoretically work. But besides, it's just way too hard to use. And I'll only give this a necessary grade in the tier list. Well, this banner is an UDX banner. It's usually hard to justify pulling because there's always one good style, one that's average, and the other ones won't matter. So I have to say that Kihaki is a very strong character. People will just keep seeing videos of very big numbers just by running this character, especially if you have Labelle, then you have more reasons to pull, or even Barthelemy. And if you like damage, I think it's okay to pull, but you have to take the risk that you may have to pity the character, and 45,000 gens is quite a lot. So I will probably be pulling because her next style is more focused on slash and lightning, and I do like different elements, and it's 4 to 5 months away, and I want to play with the character right now, but I do have the chance. If you haven't skipping banners and you have very low, I suggest you to wait and see what's coming, especially because there's just one banner now, and it's a good time to save. With all that said, this is my opinion. What is yours? Please say here in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching this, and I'll be making a full review later. What's your opinion? Say here in the comments. If you want to support the channel, there are links on the description. I hope to see you soon in the next one. Bye.